This thing still working? Is it still working? It's giving transformation. It's giving
On the news at noon, I'm Mike Seelam. We just found out Savannah police made an arrest in that deadly shooting that happened on Thanksgiving of a woman who owned a daycare. Our Madeline Bierster joins us now live in the studio with the WTOC update.
Mike, the boyfriend of that woman is now behind bars. Savannah police have arrested Cantrelle Hayes-Ross for the murder.
Have you ever heard a story so shocking that it forces you to question how well we really know the people we let into our lives? Because what happened to 34-year-old Cantrelle Hayes-Ross wasn't just a crime. It was a tragedy that started long before the trigger was ever pulled. Before we go any deeper, if you're new here, this is Shadow Crime. We dig into cases that leave you thinking long after the video ends. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Because trust me, you don't want to miss the stories we have coming. Now, let's talk about Cantrelle. She wasn't just another name in a headline. She was a mother, a daycare owner, someone who built her life around helping children grow and feel safe. Friends say she had one of those loud, joyful personalities that could change the mood in a room without even trying. She was the type of person who'd work all day, then still somehow find the energy to make everyone around her laugh. But behind every happy story, there's usually a part that nobody sees right away. And that's where Terrell Nelson comes in. At first, he wasn't the villain in Cantrell's life. He was the boyfriend, the person she chose to trust, the one she let into her space, her world, her heart. Nobody really knows the exact moment things shifted, but what's clear now is that their relationship didn't just fall apart. It turned dangerous. According to her family, the signs were there. The tension, the arguments, the unannounced visits, the kind of behavior that slowly makes someone feel like a prisoner in their own life. But just like so many women who hope love can fix what's broken, Cantrelle tried to move forward. She focused on her daycare, her future, her peace. Then came Thanksgiving Day. Instead of family, food, and celebration, Cantrell's story turned into a nightmare. A friend was with her that morning. They were cooking, talking, enjoying the quiet. Then out of nowhere, Terrell showed up, not with love, not with closure, but with a gun. What happened next was fast, violent, and devastating. 14 bullet casings, 12 bullet fragments. Inside and outside the daycare, she built with her own hands. And with her last breath, she told the truth. He shot me. Imagine being her family, getting that phone call, knowing the person she once trusted was the same person responsible for ending her life. The grief wasn't silent. It was loud, angry, confused. They lit candles, held balloons, demanded justice. Because how do you process the fact that someone you once welcomed into the family destroyed it? And here's the sickest part. This wasn't Terrell's first time being tied to violence. Not even close.
On the news at noon, I'm Mike Seelam. We just found out Savannah police made an arrest in that deadly shooting that happened on Thanksgiving of a woman who owned a daycare. Our Madeline Bierster joins us now live in the studio with the WTOC update.
Mike, the boyfriend of that woman is now behind bars. Savannah police have arrested Cantrelle Hayes-Ross for the murder of his former girlfriend, Cantrelle Hayes-Ross. He's now facing murder, aggravated assault, and parole violation charges, all in relation to this shooting. At midnight, just before Thanksgiving, SPD responded to that scene based on a shot spotter notification, but it was too late to save Cantrelle from her injuries. Nelson has an extensive criminal history and prior run-ins with law enforcement. The most recent charges dating back to 2018. Records show he was just released from prison in 2021 after serving 3 years for armed robbery and aggravated assault, along with some other charges. Savannah police say this shooting took place at 1401 Augusta Avenue. Police say Cantrelle was shot multiple times at the daycare facility she owned.
Because while Cantrelle was trying to build a future, Terrell already had a past. One filled with arrests, violence, and second chances that clearly didn't change anything. This was a man who had already been in and out of the system. Someone who had faced serious charges before. Someone who, according to reports, had been locked up nearly 10 times. And yet, he was still free long enough to destroy another life. Now, pause for a second and think with me. How many times do we hear stories like this? A woman tries to leave, tries to move on, and the man who claims to love her refuses to let her live without him. It's not always about love. Sometimes it's about control, ego, ownership, and when the person who wants control starts losing it, that's when things turn deadly, and that's exactly what happened here. But the most heartbreaking part? Cantrelle wasn't hiding from life. She wasn't living in fear. She was still smiling, still working, still making plans. Her daycare wasn't just a job. It was her purpose. Kids loved her. Parents trusted her. She built something positive in a world that desperately needs more of that. That's why the community didn't just cry when she died. They got angry. People showed up to her vigil, not just to mourn, but to speak. They told stories about her. They laughed through tears. They released balloons into the sky, like they were sending pieces of their hearts with her. Because she wasn't supposed to be another statistic. She was supposed to grow old. She was supposed to watch the kids from her daycare graduate have lives, have families. That was stolen. Meanwhile, Terrell turned himself in saying he just wanted to clear his name. Imagine that. A man whose name was already tied to violence, already tied to a different murder case in the past, claiming that this time he's innocent. That's the part that makes your skin crawl. The lack of remorse, the coldness, the denial. And you can't help but wonder what was going through his mind when he showed up at that daycare. Did he walk in already planning to kill her? Was it an argument that escalated? Or was this something he had made up his mind about long before Thanksgiving morning even arrived? Because something like this doesn't just happen in the moment. There was anger. There was entitlement. There was a decision. And once he made that decision, there was no turning back. Cantrell's family didn't just lose a daughter. They lost a sister, a friend, a light. And the most painful part? They knew she didn't deserve any of this. They knew she was trying to move forward, level up, build something better. But like so many victims of intimate partner violence, her future depended on someone else letting her have peace. And he refused.
Now, this weekend, her family gathered to honor her and speak kind words about the kind of woman Cantrelle was. She was just 34 years old. Family brought out her favorite colored balloons. They listened to music together. They also held a candlelight vigil to reminisce about the light Cantrelle brought to the world. Her parents remember their daughter as the woman who would do anything for anyone, who had a passion for childcare and will be missed sorely.
You know what makes this whole thing even harder to process? The fact that Cantrelle never saw any of this coming. She wasn't someone who lived in fear. She wasn't someone who kept looking over her shoulder. She trusted people. She believed that giving someone a chance could change them. And honestly, that's what a lot of us would do too, right? We always think we can be the difference in someone's life. We think kindness, loyalty, and love can fix a broken person, until reality proves otherwise. And this is where things started shifting. Friends started noticing that Cantrelle wasn't really herself anymore. She was quieter, more tense. She brushed it off like everything was fine. But that's the thing. People who are hurting don't always scream for help. Sometimes they just smile, nod, and keep going. Sometimes the loudest cries are completely silent. But the real question is, how did someone like her, bright, loved, full of life, end up tied to a man like Terrell Nelson? A man with a criminal past, a violent history, someone who carried trouble everywhere he went. Was it loneliness? Was it empathy? Or was it something darker, like manipulation, control, and emotional grip? Because the truth is, people like Terrell don't walk into your life wearing a sign that says danger. They come in charming, soft-voiced, acting like they finally understand you in a way no one else ever has. And before you realize it, they've isolated you, slowly, quietly, in a way that feels like love until it turns into a cage. And when Cantrelle's family heard what happened, when police confirmed the worst, there was no way to even prepare for the kind of pain that hit them. Imagine getting that call. Imagine hearing that your daughter, your sister, your friend is gone. And not just gone, but taken, stolen, snatched by someone she once cared about. That's the type of pain that doesn't fade. It doesn't soften. It just sits there like a locked door in your heart that you never wanted built in the first place. And this is where everything starts to shift. Because after the grief comes the anger, and not just anger at the killer, but at the system that let him walk free again and again, at the signs people missed, at the way a life full of promise got tangled with a life full of violence. But there's something you and I need to ask ourselves right now. How many Cantrelles are walking around today? How many people are smiling through danger? How many lives are one decision away from tragedy? Because here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. Sometimes a monster isn't hiding in the dark. Sometimes the monster is someone you already let in.
It's very, very difficult, but we wanted to let everybody know and, give them a chance to come out because she's known. And she's not known for being a bad person. If she can help you, she'd rather help you than hurt you. And kids was her passion. These kids were her life. They were her life. She was an outgoing person. She was real live, always the fun of the bunch. And she just was a great person all over. There wasn't nothing she wouldn't do.
The suspect, Nelson, was also accused of murder back in 2013. Nelson, who was 19 at the time, along with another man, were originally charged. Both men were later acquitted.
And now we get to the moment everyone wishes they could rewind, pause, or rewrite. The truth finally came out, and the world learned what really happened to Cantrelle. The police reports, the headlines, the courtroom details, none of it brought her back, but it revealed something deeply disturbing. Terrell didn't just take her life. He acted like it meant nothing. No remorse, no shock, no sense of what he destroyed. Just another act of violence from a man who had already been given too many chances. And that's what makes this case so haunting. It wasn't random. It wasn't a stranger in the shadows. It was someone she knew, someone she once trusted, someone who had already shown who he was, but still had the freedom to keep hurting people. Her family spoke out, and their pain was raw. They talked about how she lit up a room, how she was the kind of person who would check on everyone else before herself. They talked about how unfair it was that a system designed to protect people somehow failed her completely. And that's when you start to feel the weight of it, because this wasn't just a story, it was someone's whole world. And if you really think about it, this type of tragedy isn't rare. There are so many cases where people stay silent because they don't want to overreact. So many victims who think things will get better. So many families who only find out the truth when it's too late. But here's the most painful question. What signs were there that nobody noticed? Was there a moment where someone could have stepped in? Was there a point where the whole path could have changed? Because when you look at Terrell's past, you realize this wasn't the first time. This was the final time. A long history of violence that always led back to the same outcome. Someone else paying the price. And that brings us to you, watching this right now. Ask yourself honestly, how well do you really know the people around you? Are you ignoring red flags because you care? Are you convincing yourself that someone will change simply because you want them to? Sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones we think we can save. So before we end this, I want to leave you with something to think about. What makes someone stay in a situation that slowly destroys them? Is it love, or is it fear disguised as loyalty? Do we ever truly know the people we trust, or do we just believe the version of them we want to see? And most importantly, if you saw Cantrelle in your life right now, would you notice the signs? Or would you only realize it after it was too late? If you want more stories like this, real cases, real emotions, real questions, make sure you subscribe to Shadow Crime. Hit that like button and turn on the bell so you never miss an upload. We don't just tell stories here. We try to understand them. Because sometimes the truth isn't just disturbing. It's a warning.